So your assignment today, it has nothing to do with clearing decimals from equations. I have made a Google slide presentation. It is attached to your assignment with just by clicking on the link. And after you're done going through the Google slide and reading it over, you need to take the quiz that is attached to the assignment. And you must earn a 90%. That means you need to get them all right. You could take it as multiple times if you want credit. If you do not get a 90% or above, which is getting them all right, you will not get credit. So make sure you take it as many times as you need. So when we are solving equations that have decimals, my job is to show you how to clear these decimals. And you need to look at the actual decimal place. So this is the tens place, tens place. This is the ones place, tens place, tens place, tens place. Since all of them are in the tens place except this one, which is in the ones place, right here, I need to multiply all of these by 10 to get rid of the decimal. That includes this piece. So I'm going to multiply each piece by 10. And what that does is it basically moves the decimal over to the right once. For every zero that you multiply, it moves over once. So this is 1 0, so I'm going to go once over, so that becomes 3n. 10 times that 0.9 becomes 0.9. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times that 4.4, it becomes minus 44. 10 times 2.2n, it becomes 22n. And 1.1 times 10 becomes 11.1. So this decimal place basically moves for every zero. If this was 100, there would be 2 zeros and there'll be 2 decimal places. So this is your ones place down here. Then we have our decimal. Then we have our tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousandths place. The tenths place is multiplied by 10. So this is why if we have a decimal place, it moves over 1 for every zero. 2 zeros means 2 decimal places. 3 zeros means 3 decimal places. So now we have to just solve like we've been doing for the last couple weeks. Our equal signs right here. We're going to combine our like terms. So we know that these right here are like terms. So 9 plus 20 is 29. 29 minus 44, we're going to get 3n minus 15 is equal to, these combined together become 33n. Since this is my only number that has no letter on it, I'm going to keep this one here and I'm going to move this to the other side. That reduces the steps that I have to do. You don't have to have your letter always on the left side. Try to work smarter, not harder. So now we have negative 15 is equal to 30n. Divide both sides by 30. And you're going to get negative a half is equal to, and if you reduce it, this is your answer. Or a negative a half is the same thing as negative 0.5 is equal to n. Both of these could be your answers. If you notice for this problem, we have the hundredths place, then we have the tenths place, the tenths place, the tenths place, the tenths place. Since this has the most decimal places, which is in the hundredths place, that means I need to multiply all of these by 100. That means I'm going to move all the decimal places 2 places to the right. If we don't have enough numbers or digits, then you add a 0. So this becomes 1 2 places. That means negative 504 plus 1 2. That means I'm going to shift the r to the right side and I'm going to add a 0, so that becomes 10r. 1 2. Shift the r to the other side and that becomes 60r. 1 2. That becomes 240 because you need to add a 0 for this place right here. And 1 2. Shift the r to the other side and add a 0, so that's 190r. Once you have got rid of all your decimals, then locate your equal sign and see if there is any like terms. We have no like terms on the left side, but we have like terms on the right side, the 60r and the 90r. So we know that we're going to actually combine those eventually. So I'm going to write the left side. So 504 plus 10r is equal to 60r plus 190r gives us 250r. minus that 240 that's still left. I'm going to move my 504 to the other side because I want to keep anything that has a letter on the left side. That's what I chose to do. That becomes 0. Now I have 10R on the left side, 250R. And since these are both negative, I'm going to add them and keep the sign. So it's going to become a negative. And I just realized that this should have been a positive from both sides. So they're different sign. And you're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So that should have been 264. Sorry about that, guys. And then we're going to subtract the 250 from both sides. That becomes negative 240R is equal to, that's 0, 264. Divide both sides by negative 240. You get R is equal to 264 divided by 240. Get a calculator, that is fine. And you should get 1.1. And it's not an approximation, that's an exact answer. The 7's in the tens place. The 8 is in the tens place. Then we have this 0.45 is in the hundreds place. The 0.81 is in the hundreds place. And lastly, we have the 0.756 is in the thousands place. So this is in the thousands place. So that means if this is the highest or the greatest decimal place, then I need to multiply everything by 1,000. So once I multiply everything by 1,000, that means I'm going to move it 3 decimal places to the right because I have 3 zeros. So that becomes 1 decimal place, 2, 3. This becomes, I need to add zeros there. So that would be 3,700 plus 1 decimal place, 2, 3. That means I need to add 3 zeros and keep the X at the end is equal to 1, 2. Add a 0 there and move the X to the right. So 3, 4, 5, and a 0 times your X. 1, 2, 3. I need to add a 0, so that's 3,810 times the X. 1, 2, 3. That I had enough, so I don't need to add any zeros. I'm just gonna write the digits without no decimal. Technically, the decimal is right here at the end of each one. Is just because now it's a 1 and we don't need anything else. We could take out the decimal place. Now we're just gonna be doing what we do before. Identify our equal sign and see if you have any like terms on the left side. There's no like terms there, but we do have 2 like terms here. So those will be combined. So I'm going to have 3,700 plus 3,800 is equal to, if we add the 3,450x plus the 3,810x, I should get 7,260x minus 8,756. I'm going to move my 3,700 to the right side because I want all the numbers together. That means this becomes a 0, and I'm going to have 3,800. X is equal to 7,260x. Since both of these are negative, we're going to add them and keep the signs. So we're going to get negative 12,456. I'm going to subtract the 7,260x to the left side. Since these are opposite signs, I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So my answer should be negative. So I'm going to have negative 3,460x is equal to, that becomes a 0, negative 12,456. Divide both sides by negative 3,460. That becomes an x or 1x. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So you should get 3.6. And again, I use the calculator. So you can use a calculator on that part. And that is our answer.